Welcome to the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner, a show with our top prospects writing crew, bringing you the latest news, analysis, scouting reports, mocks, rankings, and much more. From the World Juniors to the NHL draft floor, from the farm to the NHL, our team covers everything that happens in the world of prospects. So sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready for Prospect Corner.
And welcome into another Prospect Corner here at the Hockey Writers. Hockey's back. We're in the first after we've had a few games already into the regular season now. No more preseason. A lot has happened. So again, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button on the YouTube channel there. There's a ton of shows that have already had some episodes on the regular season stuff. So there's a ton of content already out this week on the hockeywriters.com and YouTube channel. We're on Discord. We're Morning Skate newsletter. There's a ton of stuff you can get out at morningskate.io there. I'm joined in again by my two co-hosts here, Peter Baracchini and Greg Boysen. How are you two going in this great first week of the season?
A lot of chaos is happening, and I love it.
Yeah, there's been a ton of games here where lots of high scoring games, which I mean, normally in the regular season, first week, we get a ton of that already. Teams are trying to figure out things. So, but it's kind of fun to watch. I mean, lots of goals, lots of comebacks, some crazy games too. We could have a whole episode just talking about those. So, this episode, we're not deep diving on any team. We're going to talk about the rookies, which have been prominent this first game, or first week of the regular season. So there's quite a few. We said Cole Caufield was going to be the Calder Trophy winner. He hasn't scored yet. We have a few rookies that have already got their first goals this season. He's behind the 8 ball already. I mean, first week doesn't really matter, but we'll start with Cole Caufield. Is he still the favorite? Is he still the one to look out for? Greg, we'll start. We'll go with you on this one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not worried about all of our picks coming true here. I mean, it's 2 games. The Canadians obviously have a lot of issues. They've got a lot of guys, veteran, especially defensively, and of course Carey Price that are missing. So they are not the team that had that magical run in the playoffs. They're going to struggle, but Caufield's going to be the guy there to score the goals. Listen, if you don't have Carey Price, you don't have Shea Weber, you're missing some other defensemen, you're going to have to score 4 or 5 goals to win each night. And who else is going to do that but Cole Caufield? Doesn't have any goals. It's 2 games. The thing that makes me not worried, he leads the team in shots on goal. So he's still shooting. He's just got to get him in the net. Guys like him, they score in bunches. They'll go 2-3 games without a goal, and then they'll get 5 in 2 nights. And, streaky are those types of guys. But with his shot, he's going to score his goals. He's going to get his goals. That's what's going to win him the Calder. He's shooting, and that's what you want to see. Eventually, those pucks are going to go in. He's too good.
Yeah. Caufield is, I'm not worried about him. He's getting chances. It's not like he's not prominent in the games. It's not like he's disappeared. There are a few other rookies that have, like I said, have come in and showcased themselves this first 2 games that have experience in the NHL that were playing last year. Trevor Zegras, Jamie Drysdale, and Bowen Byram. 2 from the Ducks, 1 from the Avalanche. Are they front runners to challenge him? Are they the 3 that you're going to be looking at throughout the season to see if they can actually match what he's doing? Peter, will you go with that?
You have to think that they are. I mean, given the fact that they had the experience under their belt. I mean, same with Caufield. We saw what he did last year in the regular season and a bigger sample in the playoffs, coming up clutch with some really key goals. But I think in regards to Zegras, Drysdale, and Byram, they were fantastic. In the same games that they played, obviously they were probably in a little bit more of a sheltered role, but this time around, especially on the Ducks, they're for Zegras and Drysdale, they're going to be the go-to guys. They're going to be relied on. They're going to be seeing more minutes and more competition. So I think the expectations are going to be higher for them. And the same thing with Byram. I mean, given how great that the Avalanche's defensive depth is with Makar, Gerard, Tays, the list goes on. Byram has already had 2 points in one game. So I really think that if there's one player in particular to challenge, maybe because Anaheim may be not as competitive as Colorado is, because look where both teams are in the standings. Even though Anaheim has gone off to a really good start, is that consistency factor going to play in? I don't think it's going to be as strong as they would hope. But with Bowen Byram, I think maybe out of that group, he has a better chance to try and push Cole Caufield for the award.
Yeah, the one thing about Byram is he's, with Ryan Graves not there now, he's in New Jersey, and he's going to get more minutes, I think, than before. He's going to have more opportunities to play. And I think he's ready to break in the NHL as a full-time defenseman. So I agree. I think he's probably the one that you're going to be watching for that. Let's go to goaltenders now. There's one goaltender in Florida, Spencer Knight. Hasn't started a game yet. Bobrovsky got the first one there for Florida. Could he be the one to maybe win a Calder Trophy, since Steve Mason in 2009 did it? Greg, what do you think?
If he was the starter, I would say absolutely. And I would put him up there as a top 2 or 3 favorite to win, but he's not the starter right now. As you mentioned, Bobrovsky got the first game and he's going to start again tonight. Doesn't even look like they're doing a 1A, 1B kind of tandem. He's the backup. Bobrovsky's being paid to start 55, 60 games at least a season. And yes, he's struggled since he's been down in Florida, but he's going to be given every chance here early in the season to be the guy. That's why you're paying him all that money. So Knight's just not going to play enough to be a serious Calder contender, but that can change. We know how hockey is. Injuries happen. Joel Quenneville, speaking from watching his coach teams for a long time here in Chicago, he is not afraid to bench a high-priced goaltender for a hot-handed backup. We saw it here a lot. Think of Scott Darling and Corey Crawford a few years ago. Crawford's paid to be the number one, but Darling was playing better. Darling got more those starts until Crawford got better. So there will be plenty of opportunities for Knight to earn those starts that he needs. I just don't think he's going to play enough games to be a finalist, to be a contender. If he was the main guy, absolutely, I would think he'd be a threat to win, but he just isn't that right now.
I also think that you have to look at again, same thing as I mentioned before, consistency was the main issue with Bobrovsky. And we've seen stretches where he's been on his game for 2-3 games and then just disappears right after that. And he was battling Chris Drieger for that spot last year. They had some internal competition going back and forth with both. If there's a stretch of games where Bobrovsky doesn't meet the expectations like they had last season, and he goes on a stretch where it's a save percentage below 900, high goals against, expect to see Spencer Knight jump in, because he is ready for this. He's shown down the stretch, he's shown in the playoffs that he's capable of assuming the role. It's just getting that he just needs a good, I don't want to say bad luck, because you don't want to wish anything on another player. You want everyone to succeed. But if Bobrovsky falters, that's his ticket right then and there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's expectations in Florida for the first time in a long time, so that can go a long way as far as getting Knight that job. But we'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah, Bobrovsky, he's getting paid a ton of money to be the starter. So I don't think they're gonna give him all the opportunities to succeed. So Mason was back in 2009. He was the starter most of the year, so that's why he got that, and he was amazing, probably for that year though. So let's go to Detroit. The Red Wings had like we said about crazy games. That was probably the craziest one I've seen in a long time. 7-6 final. Bertuzzi with a hat trick. Raymond had an assist. Seider had points. Let's talk about those two, Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. We had Devin from the Grind Line on a few weeks ago talking about the Red Wings prospects. Could we have another battle on our hands? Two teammates battling up for the Calder Trophy, like we, in Anaheim with Zegras and Drysdale. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone happier in the world right now than Devin and the whole entire Grind Line over at the Hockey Writers, because this is just like Christmas for them right now. I could easily relate when the Maple Leafs are going through their rebuild that we had Marner, Nylander, Matthews come up. So this is exciting for them. But yeah, if I had to choose between which teammates would battle it out or had the better chance to win, I between Zegras, Drysdale, and Seider Raymond, I would probably just lean slightly over to Seider and Raymond, given the fact that we already knew Moritz Seider was already going to be NHL ready. We saw his progression just got better and better since he got drafted, and he's excelled at every single level that he's played in. Lucas Raymond, surprisingly, I mean, not really surprisingly, but, making the jump over and keeping his foot in the door, and the opportunity opened up for him to get a roster spot with Jakub Vrana injured. And both are looking really, really solid. We're seeing that two-way game with Seider, the speed aspect, the physicality, Raymond and his creativity with his playmaking and his shot. He's just all over the place. So, yeah, I think a lot of expectations were high for Zegras and Drysdale, but you got to look out for both Raymond and Seider because they're very in the mix and at the very top of the list to push for that award as well, and maybe bump Zegras and Drysdale down. Who knows? It's been a crazy year and a half that we've seen in the past. It may carry over to this one, so it's going to be an interesting battle to see.
Yeah, it's like I say, it was an insane game to watch, and they're going to be exciting to watch all year. I mean, we don't know, Anaheim and Detroit probably going to be in the lower end of the standings, but they're going to be some young guys to be watching there, regardless of what the actual results are of the games. Those are the front runners that we kind of see going forward here. Let's talk about the rounding out that top tier of talent. Unfortunately, Quinton Byfield in LA got an ankle injury. He's probably not going to be in the running because unless he comes back, and but ankle injuries, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But now he's probably not going to be in that running. Is that disappointing, or is it just that things happen? What do you think, Greg?
Well, I think it's devastating for Byfield. There's a lot of buzz about him and the Kings. I picked the Kings to sneak into the playoffs out of that Pacific Division because somebody's got to finish in third place in that group. So I like what they've done in the offseason. They've got all that young talent coming up, and then they add guys like Phil Deneau, and it's a, no pun intended, it's a tough break, but it just sucks that it was a awkward, weird hit along the boards, not a dirty play, just foot ended up in the wrong spot in the third period of a 4-1 preseason game, but on the plus side, it is a break, and sometimes those breaks are much easier to come back from than, say, a severe strain or some ligament damage. So he's week to week, but hopefully it's something he can bounce back for. Listen, he's young kid. He's a kid. These guys bounce back quick. I break my ankle, I'm done for 3 years. This guy could be back on the ice in 6 weeks. So, we'll see what happens. That's our tagline of this show. But it's disappointing because I think he could have been one of those guys that could have pushed for a Calder. He's part of a real deep center group there. You got Anze Kopitar, who's going to have a monster season this year because he's going to get less defensive worries because, again, they added Deneau, and you got Gabriel Velarde, another really good young center. So, he would have had a chance to kind of bum slay on that bottom six there, playing against, fourth line players. But hopefully he can come back sooner rather than later and still put up good numbers and have a big rookie season. But yeah, I think missing this time is going to cost him any kind of Calder consideration unless he comes back and just absolutely dominates, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Like I say, our tagline, so we'll see. But I mean, he's going to be a major force in the future. Doesn't matter. He'll come back. He'll be fine. Let's go to the Eastern Conference, the Washington Capitals. Now they have a couple young players, and they're a big force in the Metro. They got a couple rookies that have stood out in the first 2 games. Connor McMichael, Hendrix Lapierre. Lapierre had his first NHL goal. They look like they belong in the NHL. What do you think, Peter? Do you think that they're going to have a chance at, getting into this Calder Trophy discussion?
if there's one or two players that may seem like under the radar, considering the fact that they've already been drafted in the past, and it took a couple of years for them to get into the NHL. Don't count both of these players out because they are very dynamic players. Two different ones, but on the both ends of the spectrum. But it's really entertaining to see them crack a lineup with the amount of depth and talent that the Washington Capitals have. I mean, Ovechkin's still scoring at a torrid pace.
Yeah.
TJ Oshie's looking good. Backstrom, he's still injured, but you know what? His playmaking abilities is someone that Hendrix Lapierre can really look to and learn from for the future. But that was a really great first goal for Lapierre to drive the net after TJ Oshie made those nice moves. Obviously, he was really excited, I guess, and there was a clip where Obi was mic'd up, and he was really excited for Lapierre in his first goal. Connor McMichael, we know how much of a shooter and a scoring threat that he is. He's definitely going to be starting potting some of those goals in when given the opportunity. I do think that maybe Lapierre, who's dealt with a very difficult journey, considering the fact that he's had to deal with a lot of concussions and injuries during his junior career, was potentially a top 15, maybe top 10 pick in 2020, drops to 22 or in the 20s and selected by the Capitals, which is turning out to be a really great pick. He had a solid camp, earned the roster spot. He did his job, and now he's living in the moment. He's living his dream, and I don't think it's gonna take a lot for another solidified player to try and knock both him and Connor McMichael out, because these are two promising players that I think they really want to develop, and maybe they've earned their opportunity. They want to give them every chance.
Yeah, Ovechkin's excited about anyone scoring goals. I love that guy. He's
goal's a goal.
A goal's a goal. Doesn't matter who's scoring it. He loves the game of hockey. He loves anyone scoring a goal. So not surprised about that. It's great that he's not going to retire in a while.
The Capitals are like when you have an old dog at home, and then you bring in a puppy, and all of a sudden, like, the puppy makes the older dog feel like a puppy again. That's kind of like what the Capitals are going through now. They've got they're a very veteran team, but now you throw in some exciting young players, and all of a sudden everybody is excited and feeling youthful again. So, they could be a tough out if things progress the way they're heading.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to watch those two guys, because for me, they came out of, it's 2 games, but I didn't really, I saw their names like, oh, Lapierre, he scored a goal. But yeah, I remember when he was drafted, so that's great for him. Let's go to the Winnipeg Jets now. Cole Perfetti, who again we covered in the draft, so we know a lot about him. This is a forward on a deep roster in Winnipeg. With injuries, he's gotten into the lineup, and he's looked pretty good. Does he have a fighting chance? Based on where he is in the lineup, what do you think, Greg?
I think so. He's going to have an opportunity to earn some bigger playing time. He's on the third line right now, but he's on a pretty good third line with Paul Stastny and Adam Lowry. So he's going to get some opportunities there, and he's going to have a chance to work his way up the lineup, which I think he'll have to do to really be in any kind of Calder consideration. But as you mentioned, that's a really deep team in Winnipeg, which is a good thing, because you can kind of ease him into these situations, and there's not going to be a lot of pressure on him to be this dynamo right out of the box. He's going to have time to get used to it, get his feet under him. And I think he's going to be a really good player. He's proved at every level that he played 32 games in the AHL last year and had 9 goals and 26 assists, when he should have been, in juniors. So, I don't think the moment is too big for him. So, Winnipeg's got a really good situation with that. All those veterans they've got on the top of their lineup, they can take their time with Perfetti while learning at the NHL level, but there's not a lot of pressure on him to perform right away. And sometimes that's a good thing, because now, when no one's looking at him to be the guy, then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and they're the guy, because that's just how good they are. So he'll be interesting to watch this season to see how he, moves up in that lineup and becomes more of a focal point in their offensive attack, which I think he will at sooner rather than later as the season moves along.
Yeah, and the Jets, need some young talent to start pushing the other guys. So that's great to have him coming into the lineup and making a difference. All right, we're halfway through the show. Let's take a break. This is a Prospects Corner presented by the Hockey Writers. As you enjoy the show, make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button. Give us a comment down in the comments. Are there any rookies that you've seen that have stood out to you? Give us a shout. We'll talk about it on the next show. Make sure you're hitting the notification bell. You're not going to miss out any episodes. Make sure you're checking out all the other shows. We have a ton of them on the channel, like I said before. And check out the hockeywriters.com content every day. We have a daily download for every NHL team, recapping the previous day's action and all the happenings. So make sure you're looking for that every morning. Morning skate, again, another morning thing you're getting every day. And just check out the Hockey Writers, because there's a ton of stuff that you can check out there from everything you want to know with hockey. We're on Discord as well. Drop by there, give us we're discussing a lot of stuff over there as well. So just make sure to check out everything. Okay, let's continue the show. Let's look at some draft names that from 2021. There is some ones that have kind of come out of 2020 and 2021 drafts that have stood out in this first week. Let's first talk about Mason McTavish from the Anaheim Ducks. This guy, I wanted the Canucks to pick him. He went really high in the draft, a lot higher than a lot of people thought, and he's showing why he was drafted there. As an exciting kid, we talked about him a ton during the draft coverage. He was lights out in his pro debut. He scored his first NHL goal, and it was, doing what he does best in front of the net, just popping in a rebound. But could he be a dark horse for this award, Peter? This guy he's been amazing so far.
Yeah, and we knew Mason McTavish was going to go pretty high in the draft, maybe top 10, but the top 3, that was really surprising, and that was very interesting pick. But it's looking out to be a really great one right now for the Anaheim Ducks. We saw that he kind of fits that mold similar to that of Ryan I would consider him a good mix of Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry, mainly because he's got the physical edge of both players, but he's also got the offensive awareness. Maybe not the shot of Corey Perry right now, but maybe Corey Perry in the past. But even then, he was an upfront presence. But he's got a booming shot. He can play the nets and be that difficult guy to move out in front. He's got a very good skill set with him right now. And for him to be in that conversation with Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale, so you got 3 solid rookies on that team. So you have a really good chance that one of them could take it. Everything's looking really great for them. And I hope that, if there is someone from 2021 to try and make a name for himself, he's definitely one of the ones, because there's a lot of promise in him. And even though he's going to be on the third line, he's still on a very good line with Isaac Lundestrom and I believe Jakob Silfverberg. Mm-hmm. And those aren't, bad players to play alongside or get acquainted with at the NHL level. So the fact that they're already getting some really good chemistry is a really good sign for him right now.
Yeah, McTavish, like I say, this is early. He could be sent back to junior after 9 games, but it's great to see what he's doing so far. We'll see if he can keep it going, and if the Ducks think that he's ready to stay in the NHL, and we'll see what happens after that. Let's go out east again here to the Columbus Blue Jackets, who got 2 rookies coming out of camp. 2 guys that, one maybe not as a surprise, but another one that was quite surprising to me to make the NHL right away here. Cole Sillinger and Igor Chinnikov.
I just want to interject one quick thing. I believe I made a little mistake. Igor Chinnikov is not on the actual roster for the Blue Jackets at the moment. He was sent down.
Today.
Yeah,
that's right.
It was either late last night or early today, but
yeah, last minute roster move.
Well, he had a chance to make the team.
Yeah,
he was big.
We can still talk about him.
We'll still talk about him because he's as exciting during preseason and training camp. He had a really good chance to make it. Like I say, he was just sent down. So, is this the beginning? Regardless, is this the beginning of the youth movement for the Blue Jackets? They've done a ton of changes. There's debate if it's a rebuild, retool, whatever it is. I say it's a rebuild. What do you think, Greg? Is this the beginning of kind of excitement for the youth?
Sure, I think so. I mean, they're kind of in that weird spot where like they want to move on, but then they go out and acquire, Jacob Voracek, and they've changed coaches. I think they want to begin a youth movement. I don't know if they have enough like high quality young players to fully, get that going, but they're starting off in a good spot. As we mentioned, Chinnikov is sent down to Cleveland in the AHL, but that was the pick that had a lot of people going, oh, let's say what now? And now he's making them look like geniuses, because he was fantastic last year in Russia. As you mentioned, great camp, really good preseason. I don't think he's going to be in the AHL super long. They probably just want to get him a few games down there to, coming over and playing in North America for the first time. It's a lot for a young kid, not just the differences in the game, the rinks, but just getting, used to the culture and just everything that goes into. You spent your whole life living in Russia, and now all of a sudden you're in heartland of America. It's gonna take a little time to get used to. So I think that's a quality move by them. Sillinger is a heck of a player. I'm kind of surprised he's there this quick, but he's got the talent. And again, he's on a line where he's going to be able to maybe make a difference. He's currently centering Boone Jenner and Max Domi, so there's going to be some space on the ice for him to create. So he's in a really good situation. So yeah, definitely. The Blue Jackets are trying to change their identity. They've moved on from Torts, and they've kind of, they're slowly steering away from that veteran team. They've made a lot of changes, and it was time. They went all in a couple years ago, and then they kind of got burned for it. Seeing some really good players walk away and getting nothing in return. So I think they're learning their lessons the hard way. And they've got a good start with some of these young kids they're putting in now.
I'm kind of surprised that they went with Sillinger over Chinnikov. Obviously, both players still have some developing to do. They need to work on some aspects, especially Sillinger. Some things with his skating and his decision making. Maybe obviously fantastic rookie tournament in preseason. Though I think you could use some refining on the other side of the puck as well. So I maybe thought that maybe Chinnikov would have got more of a look at the NHL level more than Sillinger. And this has been a big debate in the scouting circle. If Sillinger is more of a center or a wing, the fact that he was at center, maybe he's more suited at another position. So definitely interesting, but still a hell of a prospect no matter what.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me that Sillinger made the lineup over Chinnikov. But I mean, Columbus looks like an offensive powerhouse right now. So 8 goals in their first game. So that's not going to last, obviously. But let's go again. We're going to fly out west again and talk about another 2021 prospect that was drafted lower than everyone thought. He was supposed to be a first overall pick for a bit. William Eklund. San Jose got a steal where they got him for sure. He's looking like a steal right now. Could he be a difference maker in San Jose on a team that's a bit in turmoil for what they're doing? I mean, they're kind of an unknown of what they're going to be this year. Do you think Eklund is going to have a big chance at this, Peter, being a difference maker there?
If there's going to be only one bright spot for the San Jose Sharks this year, it's definitely going to be William Eklund. Turned heads at camp, made a very lasting impression on the coaching staff, and he's in a top 6 role already. And during the whole entire 2021 draft, the player that had the highest ceiling or the highest potential out of any player in that draft, more so than Owen Power, Mason McTavish, Simon Edmondson, you name it. William Eklund was the top player in that draft that had the highest potential and highest ceiling out of everybody. And given his creativity, his awareness on both sides of the puck, his speed, his agility, he's a full package forward that just has a motor that just won't stop. And the fact that he's already made the team, check mark, cracked that top 6, check mark. It's now time for him to introduce the San Jose Sharks fan base to the William Eklund show, because he is a very highly touted prospect. And the fact that he dropped to 7, I'm still scratching my head because he had top 5 potential written all over him.
Yeah.
And, given the fact that, you're also out of Evander Kane right now, which, like you said, team in turmoil with all the issues plaguing him and off the ice, this opens up a spot for him. Is he going to fill that offensive void? I would think so. Maybe you want to temper expectations. You don't want to go overboard like already 40, 50 points already, but it's written in the cards. He could probably be maybe 20, 30. That's going to be a really good expectation for him this year if he is going to live up to those expectations, and I think he will.
Yeah, I love William Eklund too.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan too. I loved him so much heading this draft to where if I were the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres, I would have taken him first overall and not thought twice about it. There are going to be 6 general managers kicking themselves in the behind over the next few years going, what the hell were we thinking? Not that the guys that they took are bad, but I think he's going to be the best player from this draft class as far as forwards go. Everybody loves the future for the Kings and the Ducks, and rightfully so. But the Sharks are going to be sneaky good in a couple of years. They got some really good young talent there led by Eklund. So California, that 3-game trip for the East Coast teams is going to be hell in a couple of years.
Yeah. Speaking of Western Conference teams, Matt, we're going to get to your team in the Vancouver Canucks, and obviously going through a rebuild as well right now. Well, not necessarily a rebuild, but, tinkering with some aspects of their roster, and you have 2 solid rookies in both Jack Rathbone and Vasily Podkolzin. They may be further down the list in terms of favorites for this rookie race, but do you think that they are big-time sleepers? And given from what we saw with Podkolzin scoring his first NHL goal, I think he is probably the one to lead the Vancouver Canucks rookie class.
Podkolzin looks pretty great early on. I mean, he's playing. The problem is with him and Travis Green, and he has a problem with this, and it's been a big debate in Vancouver, is ice time. He's going around the 7-minute mark right now, and it seems like that's what, and Green has said he wants to keep him in that range. I don't agree with it. If he's playing well, he shouldn't be benched in third periods, which has happened in these first 2 games. We'll see what further down the line, what happens with his ice time, but it looks like he's getting the same ice time he had in the KHL. Even though he's playing well, he's playing that 7 minutes. And he started on the top line yesterday and quickly taken off of it. That line didn't, honestly, that line didn't look very good. But when he was moved back to where he was, he scored his first NHL goal. Great shot that he scored on. Super excited for him, but I don't think, unless he gets more ice time and power play time, which is another big one. He's not on the power play. He's not on the second unit even. They got Dowling playing in the second unit right now, who is not really an offensive force by any means. Podkolzin should be there, but if he does get that, I think he does become a big sleeper. As for Rathbone, again, he's not playing a ton of minutes either, but he has a chance to get some points. He's probably not going to push the big guys either, but they're 2 exciting guys that the Canucks are going to have for the future, and it's exciting to watch them this year, even though they're not going to win a Calder. But you never know what could happen down the line with Podkolzin, and that's for sure. Yeah, so that's the Canucks, and again, there's so many young guys in the NHL right now. They're just showcasing themselves, and let's bring it to the close here with one quick fire question. This is very simple. Do you want to change your pick from Cole Caufield? After we've talked about all these guys, have we changed our mind? Greg, we'll go to you. Have you changed your mind, or is it still Cole Caufield all the way?
No, it's his trophy to lose. He's going to score. He's going to score a lot. And one advantage that he has over everybody else we've talked about and anybody else who's going to sneak into this race, he plays in Montreal. Who votes for this award? That's a big advantage. He doesn't have to be great. He just has to be good to get the votes from that area. So I'm not changing my pick.
Peter, changing your pick, or are you still with Cole Caufield?
Changing it to Michael Bunting. No, I'm just joking. I was kind of surprised that he was up for the award, but given his age, I guess he still qualifies for it. But I still want to say Caufield, but if it wouldn't surprise me if Moritz Seider wins the award, given the fact that he just looks so composed, his poise when he's on the ice, he's playing like a pro already. That's not to say anything bad against Cole Caufield, but there's one true player to dethrone Cole Caufield. I am going to probably say Moritz Seider, given the fact that he's already looking really good. Granted, one game, again, way too early to tell. Yeah. But maybe we can revisit this when we have more of a bigger sample size. But if I have to, I'm still going to say Caufield, but I wouldn't be surprised if Moritz Seider takes it no matter what.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, revisit this maybe around Christmas time. See, because, let's see if how many of these guys are still playing. Some could be sent down to, juniors again here. So a lot can change in the next month or so. So, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm still going with Cole Caufield. Like I say, it's a big thing about the voting. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? That's why, I was surprised when Pettersson won the award, honestly. But he put on a show when he was out east, which I think that was the biggest thing. If guys that are in that put on a show in Toronto and Montreal, these guys are going to see it and potentially change that. So we'll see what happens. But that's our show. Thank you for watching the Prospect Corner. We appreciate it. Appreciate all the interest and the views and stuff. We want more comments, though. Get some comments in our comment section. We want to be in the grind line realm, so we can have a whole segment of comments. Come on, guys. Let's go. Put some comments down there. Do you think any other Calder Trophy candidates, or are we off base with Cole Caufield? I don't think we are, but put it down in the comments. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Check out thehockeywriters.com, Discord. There's a ton of stuff, like I said before, for our amazing writers and contributors there. And we have a fantasy draft going on as well from friendly competition. So we'll have some updates on that in the next few months or month or so. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for next week. We'll be talking more prospects, starting maybe the NHL, the 2022 draft soon as well. So stay tuned for all that as well. For Greg and Peter, this is Matthew. See you next time in the Prospect Corner.